to give a brief explanation of my own belief system, and this is on the fly. I'm not writing it down or planning anything, but I just wanted to explain it. Before everything else, I think things are knowable. I think knowledge is real. We can assume that knowledge is real, or we can say, oh, there's no knowledge. But it's kind of self-defeating to say there's no knowledge. It's like self-denial. It's our nature to have knowledge and want knowledge. So, if you do believe in knowledge, it's a lot like satisfying yourself. You're trying to be human. You're trying to have a life. And it's more positive than being negative about it. So that's why I think things are knowable. Secondly, I think that what we do know proves that the universe is it's either infinite or it's almost infinite. And because even the physical universe has so much energy in the stars and the size of the galaxies and everything. But I think about how there's stuff that we can't pick up on equipment or sense with our own bodily senses. There's a lot of that out there too. That's the basis for what my spirituality is. I don't pretend to know what the spiritual side of reality is, but I believe in a few things about it now. Because of my life experiences, I'm willing to change that idea any time, though. And that's what I'm explaining about how I believe that the universe is a certain way. It's infinite. And one consequence of infinity, if it's truly infinite, then there's going to be higher beings too, because there's like infinite chances for all kinds of different existences. So there's going to be something out there somewhere which is like a higher being, which some people would worship. Ancient people would try to worship that. I bet if they found some aliens, they would just worship them. So that's what people do. They kind of make things into religions. They worship things when they find something that they think is sacred. Higher knowledge is sacred. I don't recommend people worship it, but that's what they do. Higher knowledge at the time, like back in primitive Stone Age type stuff, or Bronze Age, if someone came forward and taught people about virtue and science and astrology or whatever, they would look up to that, and they might actually deify the person. Like they deify Buddha, basically, where people pray to him and stuff. They think that he had these wonderful powers. Not everyone thinks that, but some people do, so that's just an example. I don't think that's necessary, but that's why spirituality and religion became related to each other, because of how people in culture react to things that are held as sacred or higher, more meaningful things. It can be religionized, I guess you could call it. And that's the basics of what I believe. I also believe, I've explained on some forum threads, that I believe in trying to get to a Godhead type state somehow. And what that means is that, like, when you're trying to become more divine, it means you're trying to become more infinite, just like reality is infinite. And you're working towards infinity instead of away from it or ignoring it. Well, a lot of people will just ignore infinity. They won't think about it. They'll just think about their daily life. But a few people will try to become more knowledgeable or spiritually powerful or whatever they can do. But in Christianity, people are like begging for God's help and stuff, and they feel like, well, they're taught that you can't save yourself, basically, and in a way that's true. But in Christianity, people pray for help instead of trying to do the thing themselves, which is okay, I guess. Like, if there is a God, then it's fine to try to talk to him. It should be encouraged, but that's my explanation of what deification is. When we are trying to access the divine somehow, we can either beg for it in prayers and stuff, or we can try to create it ourselves from ground zero. But we start so low on the spiritual food chain and everything. We're so unadvanced, even today, that we start at almost zero when we're trying to build up a divine state. But that's another thing I believe in as the basis for all kinds of morality. I think that anyone who has ever been like on a high, or been in an elevated state, they realize certain things that other people wouldn't normally realize because we're living in a dull state. We're like cows. We just sit around eating grass all day and everything, and then it's like being a zombie. And that's the problem that we have when we're trying to become enlightened or comprehend higher knowledge, is that like normal human life isn't meant for that. I think human beings might have in ancient history been better, or maybe this is some sort of strange derivative, but that's another story. But that's my explanation again of deification and the infinity that we try to access and deal with. So that's the basics of my beliefs. I believe in an infinity, and I believe that morally we try to become and gain the positive or whatever useful infinite aspects we can gain, because progress is infinite. It doesn't need to ever end. And that's basically my explanation, and now I'm going to turn this recorder off.